Well, it appears that Elon Musk has decided to have a conversation with Donald Trump, and the framing of this specifically was done so intentionally so he could apparently try to invoke a different side of Donald Trump than people have seen in many of the interviews that he's had recently. Of course, many of the interviews he's had being specifically with hostile individuals because they are by all means in complete and total opposition to Donald Trump and all of his supporters, deeming them as effectively nothing more than the moniker of what Hillary Clinton had brushed them with, calling them deplorables, saying that they're effectively maggots, which is truly something that you see as nothing more than dehumanizing language, which I would say paints the picture of the entire mindset of this class of individual. But nonetheless, I digress. Now let's go ahead and jump in and see what we've got with the story behind the scenes going on with Elon Musk's conversation with Donald Trump. Starting with Elon Musk, here we see conversation with real Donald Trump in 45 minutes, and there you can see specifically using that framing, and then he goes on to explain why he did so, saying that it was deliberate. This is so that people understand how Donald Trump talks when he's in a conversation rather than an interview. Nobody is quite themselves in an interview, so it's hard to understand what they're really like, especially with all of the different interviews that are presented to Donald Trump, many of the times with these regime outlets being entirely hostile to him with their crosshairs aimed upon his back. Don't even know if I can use that explanation anymore considering the most recent events, but nonetheless, we carry on. Here we see Elon Musk posting the entirety of the conversation. It is 3 hours long, and there will be in the link in the description down below your ability to go ahead and listen to the entire thing. I will have this one as well as a shorter version that is roughly 2 hours long. Either or, well worth your time if you want to actually understand what's going on within this conversation to see what was tackled within it. Alrighty. The thing that is so interesting here that we saw unfold just before this conversation was to happen, well, it was apparently, as stated by Elon Musk, an attack upon X's servers. Here we see there appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X, working on shutting it down. Worst case, we will proceed with a smaller number of live listeners and post the conversation later, which is exactly what actually ended up happening. Here we see Mark Pincus saying it's Dems fighting to save democracy from two massive disruptors. Elon Musk saying, yeah. Joshua Reed Eagle, which is someone who I would say, honestly, will lick the boot of any point of the regime as long as it is doing whatever is desired and necessary to be in opposition towards Donald Trump. He truly has Trump derangement syndrome, to the likes of which I would argue only Keith Olbermann could understand. But anyways, here we see Right to Bear Memes, the person in charge of preventing the attack, which, alright man. Jumping now onto Mario Nafal. Mainstream media skews Trump Elon X space coverage, ignores record-breaking success. And here's the thing. What is it that they ignored this record-breaking success to focus on? Well, it was the technical issues, you see. That was the big problem. That was what we had to focus on because that's what's important to talk about. Unbelievable. And that is the big thing that's so curious is what is it that could have caused these technical issues? Is it because of the mass flood of people that were coming to Twitter to see this live? Or was it an outside force making some form of a technological attack upon Elon Musk's servers at Twitter, which is now X, and in doing so, trying to capsize the ability of this interview to go as viral as everyone knew it was going to? We don't know, but would we be surprised if that was the case? That there was some form of an outside actor akin to, let's say, the state operating in such a fashion? No, of course not. How could you ever be surprised by this? Anyways, now jumping in, here we see. Major news outlets show clear bias in reporting about the Trump-Elon X space. The numbers speak for themselves. 1.32 million live listeners during the space, 77 million impressions in just 3 hours, over 343,000 likes, 104,000 reposts, and 318,000 comments. Despite this unprecedented engagement, mainstream media focuses on technical issues, ignoring its massive successes and impact on political discourse. And of course, that's exactly what they're going to do. But something that I thought was even more stunning when it came to the fact of the mainstream media and how they were operating, well, here you can actually see. PSA Sitch has posted something that made me aware of what I consider to be a glowing red flag of how the journalist class thinks and operates and how they desire the government and the regime itself to operate. Here we see from PSA Sitch, asking the White House if they will do something to stop an interview with a presidential candidate is completely unhinged. And that might sound like an exaggeration, like there's no way that someone would actually do something like this within the corporate press that is in the White House press corps talking to Karine Jean-Pierre on live television. But no, Of course, the Washington Post knows no bounds.
Elon Musk is slated to interview Donald Trump tonight on X. I don't know if the president is going to tune in. Feel free to say if he is or not. But I I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue. It's a America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in that? Some of that was about campaign misinformation, but it's a wider thing, right?
Yeah, no, and you've heard us talk about this many times from here, about the responsibilities that social media platforms have when it comes to misinformation, disinformation. Don't have anything to read out from here about specific ways that we're working on it, but we believe that they have the responsibility. These are private companies, so we're also mindful of that too. But look, it is. I think it is incredibly important to call that out as you're doing. I just don't have any specifics on what we have been doing internally as it relates to the interviews. Not something that I'm tracking, and I'm sure the president's not tracking it either.
The journalists from the White House press corps just openly stating this without any fear of repercussions for the fact of what they could be representing themselves as, their organization as, or revealing what the game at play is. It's truly stunning, but what you have to realize is these people live in such a bubble that they don't even realize that they're literally holding the hand that they play on the table for the entirety of the world to see it. It's honestly stunning how unimpressive these people are. Here we see from USA Today something that I thought was quite interesting when you consider the nature of what Karine Jean-Pierre was saying when she was talking about how, well, you see, these social media tech giants, these massive institutions, these private companies, as she says, which of course that never mattered to them before, well, it's apparently up to them, and they're responsible for censoring information that shouldn't be out there into the public. And what that could be, well, it very well may be something akin to that of, let's say, I don't know, an interview of Donald Trump talking with Elon Musk. Isn't that something that could be quite fascinating? Well, luckily we know that the government would never pressure social media companies to make sure that they could, let's say, control the narrative and stop the flow of information so people could have access to the truth. Oh wait, here we see from USA Today. Biden administration coerced social media giants into possible free speech violations. Is that so? Well, here we see from Newsweek. The FBI colluded with Twitter to suppress free speech. Where's the outrage? Well, you won't find any within the media class. Here we see from the New York Post. Latest Twitter files show CIA and FBI have spent years meddling in content moderation. Is that so? What's that? Years manipulating the political landscape online and making sure that we could curate the spectrum of allowable opinion and excommunicating anyone that stepped outside of it? Interesting that. Almost like we're dealing with an authoritarian regime that wants to make sure that the truth cannot be revealed to the public. Here we see from CNN. No directive. FBI agents and tech executives deny government-ordered Twitter to suppress Hunter Biden's story. Well, that would be something that would be quite interesting if this was true, but we actually see that, well, it's not the case, because here we see from the Wall Street Journal itself how the feds coordinated with Facebook on censorship. Newly released emails show tech sites working with public officials, often solicitously. Isn't that just something? Solicitously, keep that in mind, because what we actually understand is that there was roughly $3 million that was raked in because of this fact. But of course, does that matter? No, the corporate press doesn't want to address that. They don't want to address the fact that they're quite literally making money from the federal government for working in conjunction with them to censor people who step outside of what is considered to be the allowable spectrum of thought. Here we now see something that I thought was truly revealing because of how much it defies the standard of what we've seen for so long under that of what the media class has to tell us with censorship of information surrounding things like, I don't know, let's say an October surprise akin to that of the Hunter Biden laptop, the Russiagate collusion, and so many other of the nonsensical stories that they try and tell you are the true factors of what we need to pay attention to, because they want to make sure to avert your eyes from whatever stories actually do matter in the current day, like something akin to this. Here we see from National Review, Zuckerberg admits Facebook suppressed Hunter Biden laptop story ahead of the 2020 election. Is that so? Well, as we see the possibility for censorship opening up, and it makes you wonder what we could possibly see in the realm of censorship stepping forward into the future in the 2024 election cycle, Well, I would argue that what we saw with the White House press corps talking with Karine Jean-Pierre very well may be the thing that actually reveals the entirety of the tapestry that we will be walking upon in the coming weeks. And what I love about this isn't what the media talks about. Of course, they'll never focus on the thing that matters. What they will focus on is the surface level issue that we can sit there and dance around every single other topic that actually matters while we morally grandstand atop the fact of how benevolent and great we are as the journalist class. Here we see from the Daily Beast. Elon's Trump Spaces chat is a total disaster. That's the takeaway, not the fact of how record-breaking it was, the conversations that were had, what needs to be addressed about the fact of the nation and the world. No, none of it. They don't want to talk about any of these things. And if you would like to go ahead and see what's going on with that conversation, link in the description down below, you will be able to go find it. I'll probably end up making another video on this because I did find it quite an interesting conversation. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. Thank you for watching if you got this far. Thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section down below. Stay lovely, stay great, and most importantly, as always, tell someone you love them.